There's 5 tiers, S, A, B, C, and D, and we are basically just gonna put them where they belong. But yeah, there's 6 stats: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, perception, and charisma. Every time you level up, you get 3 stats. Usually they increase by +1. So let's say we level up, we get 1 point of dexterity, 1 point of intelligence, and 1 point of perception. These are completely random. Completely and utterly random, and depends on the class that you are playing. This specific one has good dex, intelligence, and perception, but bad everything else. And then there's also the option of being able to get 2 stats if you roll a relative skill and all of that, but we're not going to go into details. The main thing I want to say here is you get 3 stats every time you level up. And I'm going to keep that in mind with our tier list. So, the most important stats, the stats that are an absolute game changer, has to be strength. If you have strength, you can carry more weight. If you can carry more weight, you aren't slowed down. If you're not slowed down, you can run at the speed of sound. It is amazing. Nobody likes being a turtle in this game. Everyone wants to run as quickly as they can and get to everywhere and grab everything. This is a universally usable stat. Doesn't matter what class you are. Doesn't matter if you're doing melee or not. It is useful in a nutshell. The second stat is dexterity. Dexterity also increases your speed, but it does reach a cap, and I'm not quite sure if dexterity really makes you run faster than if you only had strength but you didn't have dexterity. Like eventually, every game I've ever played, eventually it always feels like everyone runs at the same speed. So I'm not quite sure if I could say dexterity is as high up as strength. But at the same time, it's also a really good skill. If I had to choose one of 3 stats, I would either choose strength, dexterity, or intelligence as a main stat. Then I choose constitution as a secondary stat, and any of those 4 as a third stat. I'll get into that in a moment, but if I have to place dexterity somewhere, it is something that increases your ranged damage. And it also increases your speed. I will have to put it in A tier because of that. Because it is a fundamental basic skill that does a lot to make your characters stronger. The next up, we have intelligence. Now, intelligence isn't the most interesting skill in the game. Every 1 point of intelligence gives you 1% more spell power. So if you have a spell that does 10 damage and you want that spell to do 20 damage, you need to have 100 intelligence, and it's not common to get to those numbers. And spells, generally speaking, like if you have 50 strength, that's plus 50 damage on top of anything else. You know, that's a big difference. That's a big difference. So if I have to think about intelligence, if I have to put it somewhere, it's either going to be somewhere in A or B. I don't think I can put it in A because it's not as good as agility. I mean, it helps. It also increases your mana regeneration. It also makes you, but like the amount of mana regeneration, I don't know. This is a difficult one because on the one side, it is a top skill, but I wouldn't say it's the top skill. I'm gonna put it in B rank because it's not exceptionally good, it's not exceptionally bad, it is useful, but you can use magic without intelligence. Your mana regeneration will be the only thing that truly gets affected. So it's not completely detrimental. You can just supplement that with restore magic potions and all of those goodies. I don't know. This is a thing. The next skill will be, the next stat will be Constitution. Now, Constitution is definitely up here as either S or A. I think I'm going to put it up an S tier, because every 1 point of natural constitution you get gives you 1 AC. 1 AC means 1 less damage. So if you're playing something like a monk and you just have natural con growth, man, back before they changed the way shields work. Previously, shields used to, you could just get infinite amount of skills on a single enemy. So you could literally get yourself to 100 blocking on floor 3. And if you were a monk and you did that, you had like 69 AC. Just for reference, a cockatrice does like 80 damage. You're on floor 3 and you're basically capable of fighting a cockatrice. That's how freaking powerful that was. But yeah, regardless of that, regardless of blocking skill, if you don't even have blocking skill, if you just get a lot of constitution, if you get 30 constitution through a whole game, that's 30 armor on top of the armor you're wearing, on top of all the blessings. It's really good at reducing all the damage that you take from any form of melee. Not just that, but it also increases the amount of healing you get from potions. So if a potion of healing would normally give you 20 health, if you have enough constitution, it'll give you 50 health or 60. And with extra healing potions, I've seen them go up as high as 250. It is huge. It is huge. Constitution's definitely up there as S tier. 100%. Now the last two here are universally disliked in the community. I am going to prefix this by saying that in general, most people would take charisma and put it in D tier. I'm not going to do that, and I'll explain my reasoning. Charisma is a very useless dumb stat. Charisma increases your leadership ability, and charisma increases your trading powers, trading skill, so to speak. So if you have charisma, you can issue commands to any followers, and you can see the trades from shopkeepers a little bit better. You also get better prices from shopkeepers, but eventually you'll get to 100 leadership and 100 trading, and then charisma literally does nothing. It literally has 0 impact on you for the rest of the game. So that's why a lot of people will put it in D tier. I personally am going to put it in C tier, and here's my reasoning. If you are able to interact with shopkeepers, and you're able to buy some of their hidden items, specifically thinking of scrolls of remove curse, scrolls of charging, scrolls of identify, blank scrolls if you're doing magic stuff. You could buy your healing potions, you could buy restored magic potions. Heck, you could buy repair scrolls and other really cool things. But it's all locked behind a certain amount of trading skill or charisma. And having access to this helps every single class in the entire game. Literally the entire game. And I always, you guys will see it in every single run of mine. I will get gold from the Gnomish Mines, from the Troll Prison. I'll get gold from the Sokoban, and then I just buy every single potion that I need, every single scroll I need. I just buy everything that I could possibly want. And you get all of that because of charisma and trade skill. The higher your charisma gets before you start trading, the better. Because one, it makes the trades much cheaper, allowing you to get your trading higher, faster, without spending all of your gold. And two, it gives you the access to the actual things that you want without needing to spend all of your gold to get your trade skills higher. So that's my reasoning for it. some people will disagree, and that's fine. They might say, okay, fine, Lyciant, fine. It's below everything else. I can agree with that. But where are you going to put perception? Is it also C tier? I would say perception is better than C tier. Well, I don't think so. I actually will put perception in D tier. And this is going to be controversial because most of the community will tell you that perception is better than charisma and charisma is just completely useless. And I totally get where they're coming from. I really do. Perception is something that inflicts damage. It's not something that becomes useless towards the end of the game. Perception can increase damage from traps. It gives you a percentage armor penetration, and it allows you to appraise items. You know, it all adds up. It's very useful in its own right. But the reason I put perception in D tier is because if I had a character that had literally 0 perception, I would be happy. Unless I'm playing something extremely specific, like a mechanist or a mechanist. That's pretty much it. Or anything else where I plan on using a tinkering kit. And here is why. Perception does help you appraise things faster, and you definitely feel this when you have negative perception. But the moment you reach 0 perception and you can start appraising items, it's a snowball. It just keeps rolling and rolling, and no matter what you do, you cannot stop appraising items anymore because you just keep appraising items. Hell, even if you have negative perception, what you can do is you can drink random potions that aren't appraised, and you can read random scrolls that aren't appraised. And then, well, you just get appraisal skill, which then allows you to appraise everything else. You don't need perception to appraise anything. But what about the damage you get from traps? Well, you need a tinkering kit. How often do I use a tinkering kit, guys? If you use tinkering kits and you plan on making a gazillion fire bombs and you want to blow up everything with fire traps, sure, use perception. Perception's good for that. If you do plan on doing something like a mechanist and using a tinkering kit, perception adds to your tinkering skill. But other than that very, very specific and niche situation, what does perception really do? It gives ranged classes a chance of armor penetration. It's 0.5% for every 1 point. So let's take your typical endgame stats and you have, let's say, 60 perception. You know, you got really good perception rolls, you're at 60 perception. Well, now 1 in every 3 arrows, instead of doing 10 damage, they'll do like 12. Because most enemies in the game don't really have a lot of armor. In fact, the resistances of enemies play a much bigger impact than the armor. That said, it does help a little bit, but it's so negligible. I don't care about perception. Perception doesn't do anything for me literally anywhere, anytime. So that's where I'm gonna put it. And this is where I'm gonna leave our stats tier list. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Let me know where you would put certain things, if you would have moved something somewhere. I'm specifically looking over there at a charisma and perception. I know that one's controversial. I want to know what you guys think, how you guys feel. Remember, this is my personal tier list. This is the way I look at the game, the way I see it. What do you guys see and experience, and how you want to approach the game is up to you. I try to list everything fairly, and I gave reasoning as to why I listed things in that way. But obviously, you know, if you're someone that uses a tinkering kit all the time and you don't really interact with followers, I could totally see this.